I stumbled across this video as I was searching YouTube one time where these atheists attempt to answer Christian questions. So I'm going to answer their answers, sometimes with more questions. Let's get into it.
The first question, and this is often the first question, is what happens when we die? For an atheist, nothing happens.
Then why care? Why do you care about helping people at all? Why do you care about doing good? Why does any of this matter? If you are just going to die and be gone, what is the ultimate point of life?
Yes. And you live on in the memories of the people that you knew and the things that you did for the world.
But why does any of that matter? Eventually, the world will be gone. Eventually, everyone you know and everyone that knew you will be gone. So why care?
There is no suffering after you die if you're an atheist.
Well, that's not true. If Christians are right, it doesn't matter if you're an atheist. You're going to suffer. You can't walk into a courtroom and just say, "I don't believe in you, Judge," and walk out without punishment.
Next one. Where does morality come from if not from God? Look, if you're a Christian, I understand that you think that your morality comes from God, but it comes from temporally and geographically limited humans interpreting old books.
We have no doubt that the book that we have today is the same one as the book that was compiled all those years ago. While no one today possesses the original autographs, we do have many extant copies, and the work of biblical historians via the science of textual criticism gives us great confidence that today's Bible is an accurate reflection of the original writer's work. As an analogy, if the original and preserved unit of measurement, known as a yard, was lost in a fire and its holding place in Washington, D.C., there is little doubt that that measurement could be replaced with full assurance through all the exact copies of it that exists elsewhere. The same is true of God's Word.
Morality was made up by people.
Really? Whose morality do you want to follow? Hitler's? Stalin's? Castro's? Kim Jong-un's? Those moralities were made by people. Are they better than your morality? Is your morality better than their morality? Why? How can you lock anybody up when they're just following their own made-up morality?
But even, Christians don't agree on all moral points.
Right.
That doesn't matter. What matters is what is true. What matters is what God said. He is the only objective moral standard that we could follow.
Morality seems easiest to understand that morality comes from, like, an idea of empathy.
But why? Why be empathetic towards others? If I hurt them first, then they can't hurt me. It's survival of the fittest. If hurting others benefits me in some way, as some people in this world seem to think, then why shouldn't I do it?
Every version of the golden rule that has existed not just because of your God, but a lot of religions.
Yeah, for thousands of years before your God.
There was nothing before God. He was all there was at the beginning. And Christians have existed in one form or another throughout history since the beginning. Started with Adam, who could actually walk with God because he was perfect at one point before he sinned. Then it went all the way down to Noah. And then after the flood, we got the Jews, the Catholics before they went all wonky, and then the Christians after the Reformation happened.
Morality is a system that we set up to create the world that we want.
That who wants? The world that the serial killer wants? The world that the rapist wants? The world that the thief wants? The world that Hitler wanted? Why not?
And I think that morality is what works to make the world an objectively better place.
Wait a minute. But not all humans agree on what makes this a better place. So it's not objective, and whose idea do we use?
The next one. So can you just do whatever you want? Because we still have laws.
But why do we have laws? And why should you follow them?
Simply, we need to regulate things.
Why? Are human beings naturally good or evil? That's what it really comes down to. If human beings are naturally good and naturally want to be moral, then why regulate things? Let people just do what's natural to them.
Well, for example, should you set up your stoplight system to be a lot of four-way stops or a lot of roundabouts?
Okay, here's a question. Why should you follow the law that says you need to stop at stoplights? If you are already late to work, shouldn't you just drive through? That has to do with your survival. God told us to obey the laws of the land, that's why. Morality was written into the hearts of every man. That's why you have it. That's why you seem to want to follow it.
The atheist approach is like, well, then all my time here becomes that much more valuable,
Yes.
so I don't want to spend it in prison.
Why? You're just going to die and be gone. All of your accomplishments will mean nothing. Why not just rot away in prison? It'll mean the same thing in the end.
To them, life on earth has no consequences.
Not true. You do good because you have been shown so much kindness through Jesus that you want to show that much kindness to others and follow God's laws. That's why you do good on earth. God is also watching everything you do, and He knows everything you think.
Where did the universe come from?
You do?
What's your answer?
My answer is like,
Well, first of all, you could say, I don't know.
my answer is I don't know.
And I would argue neither do you.
Yeah,
But-
that's what I would say. That's the exact same thing. It's like, you don't either.
But God does. He was there.
Okay, so here's my theory. I'm not 100% sure of this, but based on my limited understanding of physics,
I don't believe that the universe came from anything. And the reason that I don't believe that is that space and time do not exist independently of one another. They are related to each other. And without space, you don't have time. There was literally no time before the universe to precede it from whence an effect could come. The only reason we have time is because we have space and matter. And so I don't think that it came from anywhere. I think that it has always existed because that is the nature of existence. And the reason that seems weird is because we use our tiny little monkey brains and we have seen things, and everything we see has a maker or came from somewhere, but that's simply our limited experience living for a couple of 10,000 years on one little planet. Cosmically, that's irrelevant, that's anecdotal, that's a case study. That doesn't mean that existence actually functions that way on a grander scale.
That's not true. Most people can agree that's not true. It's not true because everything is wearing out. Everything around us is losing energy and dying. Therefore, it had to start somewhere. How come you think that the universe is eternal, but you can't wrap your head around the idea of an eternal God?
well, and the final point that I would make on this is if you find it unsatisfying or like a cop-out to say the universe has always existed, and that that's not fair because everything has a beginning, then I would say to you who created the universe, and you would say God, and then I would say, but you believe that everything had a creation, so who created God?
Except that God is not losing energy. He is not dying. He has always been and He always will be. He is the exact same yesterday, today, and forever. He's not getting older. He was never young. He was never a child. He's the one constant in the universe.
Final question. Okay. What happens if you're wrong?
This is not the best approach, but I can understand why some people use it.
So, if you're wrong about God not existing as an atheist, what happens?
If I'm wrong, nothing happens. We go to jail peacefully, quietly, we'll enjoy it. But if I'm right, and we can stop this thing, you will have saved the lives of millions of registered voters.
That sounds familiar.
Ghostbusters.
Damn it. Okay, that's true. Well, I would say, look, if one particular group of Christians is right, then theoretically we go to hell.
If different groups of Christians are right, then God knows what happens. If the Jews are right, God knows what happens. He probably knows. I honestly don't know.
Jews are right, you
there's
don't
no
go to hell.
right?
Nah.
But there's heaven.
Old-timey. You
There's
just
heaven,
go
but
to
no
a
hell.
different spot.
What if the Jains are right? What if the Muslims are right? What if Nordic God worshippers are right? That is also as good of a question to ask Christians, because they will believe that, either there's God or there's not God, but there could be any number of different gods, of which the Christians theoretically worship one.
If you look at the Bible, you find that it's the best explanation and holds up to the most scrutiny. That is why we know it to be true. It was written by over 40 people, spanning about 1,500 years. There are no contradictions. Everything flows into a singular story pointing to one person from different points of view. There are fulfilled prophecies in the Bible. The Bible is historically accurate. It is just true. So, those are the questions that they supposedly answered. But those are my answers to their answers.